Hi, I'm Pat McGuinn from Drew University, and I'm here with Meryl Johnson from the Ohio State Board of Education, and we're here today to talk about the Every Student Succeeds Act. Meryl, if you could start by telling me a little bit about where the state of Ohio is right now in the process of developing its ESSA plan.
Well, we just had something I think very exciting happened. The original intent of the state superintendent, Paulo Di Maria, was to submit our plan for the April deadline instead of September. And there was a lot of pushback from community members, from superintendents, school districts, and so forth, just asking that we put that off until the September deadline. And I'm a community activist, so when I see the community really becoming active around a certain cause, I get very encouraged. And so as a result of that, at our last state board meeting, the state superintendent did make a decision to submit our plan until September instead of April. So there were a lot of people who were very pleased that there would be more time for us to do more work on it.
Great. And following up on that point, can you talk a little bit about how the state is approaching, sort of the process for engaging stakeholders and creating ultimately a plan?
Yeah, I've been very impressed by the process. We held a number of regional meetings. I think it was 18, in which we had a number of people, stakeholders, come to the meetings and have an opportunity to respond to some questions that I thought were very well put together. And in addition to that, there was a survey that was put online that, again, stakeholders were able to respond to. And the number that I've seen as a result of that is 15,000 stakeholders were able to tell what they would like to see in the plan. The problem is that as a result of all of the various comments, there was a real strong push for a decrease in the amount of standardized testing that's going on. And there was also a strong push for a change in the way our state report cards are done. And unfortunately, those changes did not show up in the draft of the plan. So there were a number of people who were very disappointed and said that. And so that's why I'm glad that we have more time so we can at least make sure our stakeholders understand that we are listening to them.
Okay, thank you. And ESSA obviously contains fewer mandates, federal mandates, than its predecessor, the No Child Left Behind Act, and gives states more discretion, more freedom to design their own plan for education reform. What do you think are the most exciting opportunities under ESSA for states like Ohio?
Well, I'm really excited about two things. First of all, I'm so glad that it's not as punitive as No Child Left Behind was. No Child Left Behind talked about, if your school is not successful, then it can be turned into a charter school. And all the research says that generally charter schools are not doing as well as your traditional public schools. So to me, that was not a good decision. Instead, ESSA looks more at helping, providing resources to make sure that our students are successful, and thus the name Every Student Succeeds Act. And I really, really like that. The other thing I think is really good is the multiple indicators, meaning that you're not just going to base the school's success on test scores, which is such an unreliable way to measure if a school is successful, that you're able to use other indicators, such as chronic absenteeism, student surveys, the discipline that's going on, and so forth. So I think that really broadens the opportunity for schools to show if they are doing well.
Thank you. And I wondered if we could talk a little bit about equity right now in education. And one of the concerns that some observers have raised is that by rolling back or weakening some of the federal mandates around accountability, that states may not feel the pressure to push for closing racial and socioeconomic achievement gaps that have proved to be so large and persistent across American history and continue to this day.
That's my biggest fear.
So can you talk a little bit about that and what you'd like to see Ohio do in that regard?
Yeah, that's my biggest fear. I appreciate that there is a focus on equity within the plan. I mean, when you look at various articles and so forth that are done on ESSA, they focus on the equity, which has been a real problem in Ohio. Because, Ohio, the way that we fund schools has been ruled unconstitutional 4 times by the Ohio Supreme Court. And unfortunately, our legislators have chosen not to develop a new school funding plan, so it still remains unconstitutional. And the Ohio Supreme Court, the justices basically said that you have an over-reliance on property taxes, which means that a child's quality of their education is determined by their zip code. And you and I both know that that is so unfair. But that has not been fixed. So I'm glad that ESSA talks about equity, but again, without the monitoring from the federal government, I am fearful that states will no longer consider that a priority, because nobody will be watching to see if they do it or not. And we have so many children who deserve to be successful, but they're just lacking the opportunities.
Do you feel confident that the state education agency or the state of Ohio more generally will step in and take over that accountability role that in some ways was previously played by the federal government?
Well, I have confidence in my colleagues on the State Board of Education. I can't say that I have that same confidence in some of the legislators. Some of them, and I'm not being bipartisan now, some of the legislators, Republican and Democrat, are real concerned about the quality of education that our children receive. And then there are some who would rather see education privatized. We've had some laws proposed that would, give kids vouchers and turn all the money over and they can take it to whatever school they want, which would certainly just destroy our traditional public schools. So I'm fighting for public education. That's why I was ran, and that's why I got 122,000 votes, because there are a lot of people who believe in public education and want to see me fight for it.
So great, Meryl. Thank you very much. What kinds of resources or capacities need to be in place or might be missing at the state SEA level or the district level to implement this ESSA plan as it emerges?
Well, the main thing that I'm concerned about is the lack of resources being placed into quality professional development for our teachers. So many times people want to blame teachers for the problems, and that's unplaced. That's unfair to blame our teachers, because our teachers are not getting the kind of professional development they need to be successful with our children. For example, culturally relevant curriculum. When you talk about children of color and poor children not having the confidence that they need to succeed, a lot of it has to do with the lack of cultural relevancy in the curriculum. They don't see themselves, so therefore they don't think that they're worthy of success. So that's one of the things that I would like to see happen. Something else is we have a number of young people who are experiencing toxic stress because of the trauma that is occurring in their lives. We need more resources for social workers, for guidance counselors, for teachers to be trained in trauma-informed education. Everybody keeps talking about why can't our children succeed. To me, that is the bottom line of what is not happening that should be happening. We also need smaller class sizes. And I don't know if I know the resources are available in Ohio, but there's a problem with priorities and how the legislature chooses to put its budget together. We still have, the wealthy getting really big tax breaks. And that's a nonpartisan statement. It's just a factual statement. And when we have that kind of money available that's not going to our children who deserve to have the quality education that I would like for them to have, then it creates a problem. So one thing that we do have the resources for, and that is to decrease the testing, because that doesn't take a whole bunch of money. It just takes some good decision making, and that's something that stakeholders are crying out for. So we do have the resources for that.
Thank you, Meryl. Thanks for taking the time today, and I wish you the best of luck with this work.
Thank you. Thank you.